Hi guys, just going to be a short one this week for the 40k Friday. I'm going to be continuing with painting the Blood Angel. Just going to be running through highlighting it. I've got two reds I'm going to use for the highlighting: Mephiston red and Dragon red. I'm going to start with the Mephiston because it's a little darker and see where that leads me. If I need to go a little lighter, I'll go to the Dragon red, and then for just edge highlighting on top of that, I've got the pure red. Right, As you see, there is the Mephiston. Next, I'll put a bit of Dragon red just for comparison. You can see one is a little closer to the colour we use than the other. So I'm just going to take a bit, and I'm just going to smooth it off, and I'm just going to run it around the edges very gently here. And you straight away that adds some pop to that there. Now when it dries, it's going to be less obvious, which is why I picked a colour that already is very bright, that is already very much brighter than what I've used. You see what I'm doing is I'm picking areas where the light might come in and providing some edging. Now you can edge the whole lot if you want, but that takes a long time. It's far easier, for example, to catch this edge here and just do some strategic bits. Right. Now, as we can see here, as it's dried off, it's giving a pop, but it really isn't quite as much pop as I'd like. So I'm going to move up a little bit and try again with the Dragon red. Sometimes you just got to try it and see what you like. The Mephiston red is nice, but frankly, I think the little extra brightness of the Dragon red is going to be a bit more obvious. If that doesn't work, then you can move up yet again to pure red, but I don't think I need to. Now when I'm doing the edges, again you can see I'm taking the brush and I'm going across, so the brush is basically at a right angle almost to the edge I want to pick up. So I'm just getting that edge. And you can just imagine little bits of it gleaming. Bits of it catching the light. Because you're using small amounts of paint, you'll find that the brush, oh sorry, there you go. The brush dries off relatively quickly, so every now and then you want to just wet it, clean it, just to stop, just to prolong the life of your brush. Now, ideally the light wants to come sort of vaguely from the top, but in some cases you're just looking at where the light's likely to be caught. So getting some of the edges gives you a good effect. Sorry for the sniffing, guys. I've got a bit of a cold. And it's also affecting my ability to speak, which is why I'm not doing that much speaking. And you can see, even without being too obvious when they dry, these things are just lifting separate parts and providing a certain level of separation. So you can distinctly see between one part and the other. Sorry, just knocked my water. Right. Now, with some of the other bits, you see I'm taking a bit of water, mixing it in with the paint, just so I get a bit of flow when I'm adding bits here and here. Just so it doesn't look like too harsh, I think, but give you a bit of highlight. And again, you can see here and here, it's already made a difference that you can see. Now, if you're new at this, don't worry about being too precise. It's one of those things that just comes with practice. The best way of knowing to paint is to paint about 400 or 500 models. Then, when you've done that, paint about 400 or 500 more. Just keep on painting and painting, and you will get better. Sadly, that's a big chunk of it. I may be slightly exaggerating the 400 or 500, but you paint one. If you paint one sort of like Strike Force / mini army kind of thing, you will notice after you've done it, you'll be able to line them up from the beginning, from the ones you do at the beginning to the ones you do at the end, and see that one set were much better. The ones you did at the end are much better than the ones you do at the beginning, and that is perfectly normal. And again, you can see what I'm doing here, which is similar to what I did with the shading. So I'm taking wet bits and just letting it spread out slowly. I'm running out of Dragon Red, so remember, don't put too much paint out of one go, because it'll just dry off and that'll just cost you money as you waste paint. You put out a bit, then when you're done, you put out a bit. When you've used that, you put out a bit more. Some bits I'm spreading where I'm just trying to sort of provide an effect of light. Other bits like the ridge of the backpack here, my intent more is to, again, act as if this was just a point that catches the light. It depends on, again, whether or not you water it down like I'm just about to do, or don't. Depends on whether you want it to give yourself a sharp edged finish or a soft edge finish. There's some areas where there's shadow, you can see I'm just kind of leaving it like under the gun there. You wouldn't expect to see any. Other areas, I'm just looking to catch the glint of light. Even though, again, there's not much commentary on this just because it works one way and then you just repeat the same thing on every edge that you kind of want to give a bit of a buff to. Again, if you're careful and you over paint, you can just use your fingers very carefully to pick it off. Just make sure you don't leave a bunch of paint on your fingers because it will then just rub paint somewhere that you don't want it.
Right, Max.
Okay.
What's up, Papa? You okay, little boy? What is it, darling?
Okay, that's the first layer of highlighting done.
Lemon cake. Do you want to try a little bit? Tiny bit?
Now I'm going to catch some brighter points if I feel it needs it with some pure red. That should be much more obvious. I hope. In case you're wondering what brush I'm using, it's my 3.0. It's my 3.0. Yeah. With this, I'm not going to go around all the edges anywhere near as much. Just a bright point there. One up here. On the edge here.
Emma?
What's up, Max?
Oh, he's got yogurt on his top.
I'm just doing it a bit more down one side.
Oh,
You
God.
can see I'm doing a lot less here. Oh, hey Maxie. My son has just spilled yogurt on his top, which is, of course, the end of the world.
Come here.
And I'm commenting on it, which, of course, makes me bad people.
Yeah, makes you very evil, Daddy. There you go. Should we go for a wee as well? Let's see.
Just on a few points that I want to raise up. Now, you can do it across the whole model, get some awesome effects and some awesome looks. But again, this is primarily to just make the details a bit more obvious from... I'm using bloody wrong red again. That'll teach me. To make the details a bit more obvious from distance. Sorry, just started picking up the wrong red. Obviously just like the points and that. So the light looks like it's coming from roughly the same areas. Again, you can do it much finer, much lighter, and much less obvious. You can do it sort of to Golden Demon standards, but that's not what we're aiming for here.
Maximus! That is naughty. Do that again. No, you're throwing yogurt at me.
And here we're very much... You can hear my family is happy, my son is happy, everyone is happy, 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 happy.
Don't splash yogurt at me, you poop head.
Bear with me, I'm just going to pause this for a second.
Sorry, Scott, it's always funny to splash yogurt at me.
Just get a bit much, you can just nip it off.
You're just very tired. You really just snuggle down, lie down. Go for it. You know what the toilet is, go for it then. Yes. Oh, God. that funny?
And again, just to get the smoother areas, just a little bit of water mixed in there will help it just flow a bit more smoothly and settle in a little less obvious point.
Maxie! You're a bit red, are you? You're a bit cute, a bit naughty. I'm changing, yeah?
Okay. Now, there's going to be one last little bit. And this is just going to be from the top, on the top areas of the model. Come on, you. And this is what we'll find out I've run out of orange. Actually, it looks like it's just blocked. The top's just blocked up, so I'm just going to unblock. Oh, there. I think I'm getting too much out. It's like buses, really. Don't worry about the fact that looks darker. That's just the way some of the Vallejo paints look. Should I take a bigger brush? And I'm not using the orange itself. What I'm doing is I'm going to mix the orange in with the red. We're just going to tone it down. Not a lot, because you're going to use it. I'm going to use a tiny amount of it, but a bit. I'm just going to clean this orange up. If you spill paint, if you get paint somewhere that it's not meant to be, it's important to clean it up, because you'll get it on your fingers, your elbows, and whatever, and that doesn't matter. But then your finger will touch the model, and hours of work will be covered in paint, and you might or might not be able to save it. I'm just going to take. I put out way much more orange than I need because it dripped out there, but no matter. Little dot, little dot, little dot. Just tiny, tiny little bits. And just to the stuff that is coming from the top. Again, you can catch everywhere you think might have light, but that would take ages, and with too much orange it will look silly. But again, you can see. There's a peanut butter missing. If I just bring my hand behind so it focuses, you can see it gives it a little effect, makes it a little more obvious, separates it a little more. And lets you see where the stuff is. Now, I'm going to do something very similar. And I'm just going to swap over to a clean palette. I say palette, like I say, when I buy toughened glass for my phone, for your, I'm saying toughened glass to sound, because it sounds weird, I don't know why. When you buy screen protectors from your phone, because they're toughened glass and need to be protected, this is what they come in, and that's just an easy thing to use as a palette. These ones are split, but usually I use it, which I might have shown in previous videos, because when they're not split I can close them down, and that way if I've got a kid wandering around, or a kitten, or a dog, or whatever, I'm not going to get random bits of paint. Now, this is going to be a much more obvious effect. What I'm doing now is I'm using this just to give the guns some definition. At some point some red's gone in there, so don't worry, I'll correct it later. But right now, I'm just going to do that. And this is just edge highlighting, so this is just going on every edge to show that it's there. You can see that I'm getting some lumps there. The reason I'm getting lumps there is because the grey is a little dry, a little thick, so I've just watered it down there just so that it flows a little better and gives me the effect more, gives me closer to the effect I want. There we go. There's some random bloke apparently that says water your paints a lot. Turns out he's right. Again, gonna do baby.
Sorry.
Sorry, I'm doing this on the family table, and obviously occasionally other people use the family table. I've got a room which we game in and we do other things in. I'm planning to start doing it in there, but me and my beautiful wife Anna are still sorting out the lights in it. I say we because she plans to do some artistic painting stuff in there as well, because she is about 5 times the painter I am. Now, you can see there I've got some bits where it's flicked up and flicked over. Part of that, to be honest, is because I'm doing it in front of a camera. I don't mean that it makes me nervous or anything, I just mean that instead of looking at the angle I'd normally be looking at, I've got a camera between me and it. So ironically, when I'm trying to show you how to paint, I'm not quite as good as I'd like to be. That's totally it. It's totally not that I'm rubbish. And then you can just take some black and then thin the lines back out. Sorry. Again, you may notice occasionally I'm having to re-go over bits or catching my fingers. Usually I don't tend to use a grip because I'm cheap as all fudge. Mostly because I don't actually have that much money. I use a paint pot or something like that with some blue tack, but it unfortunately gets in the way. When you're doing it at home, I totally recommend you use a paint pot with some blue tack or some other kind of grip, because that will allow you to not rub off bits of paint that you've just done. Let's have a look. I managed to catch it in most places, fortunately, so I don't think I've any to show you. But I had to redo I had to redo the, sorry, just trying to avoid doing that. I had to redo the edges on this about 3 times and redo the red on here where my thumbs or my hands were rubbing against it while I was painting it. So, a grip, an old paint pot. These Citadel paint pots, when they're empty, you can rip the top off, or you can just put some blue tack or some, or some double-sided sticky tape on there, and that'll sit on there fine. And that gives you a lot of, that'll let you hold it without, with less risk of rubbing things. Yeah, where am I? Yeah. Yeah, a bit more. Yeah, now that I know it needs watering down a tad, I'm just watering it down a tiny bit. This doesn't need much watering down because I'm using edge highlighting here. And there you can see the gun is a lot more obvious and it looks reasonable. You can do a lot of other stuff and a lot of other bits and pieces. But for just tabletop standard, that's okay. Just bear me a second. Just got to fish out some Nuln oil. Now, you can do it a little quicker by not using a shade, but what I tend to do, just because I think it kind of smooths off a bit, is I'll use a lighter grey, which is what I've used now. You could do it a little quicker by just using a darker grey, but I'll use a lighter grey, and then just go over it and wash it down. There's not much. Oop. But I just like the way that it smooths out a tad. It's not, again, it's not the, we're not doing it in such a way as we're completely undoing it. And I've done a bit much there, so I'm just going to do an easy thing of dipping in water and taking some of it off with tissue paper. Those of you who are eagle-eyed viewers may have noticed that what I in fact did there was put Nuln oil here and then put black paint here and start using the black paint. That's because I have got a cold and I am sick. But you'll also notice that I just dipped it in water immediately and used a tissue paper to wash it off. So I'm just going to do what I intend to do in the first place, which is take the Nuln oil and give that a wash. There you go. That's giving me the effect I want. Now, because I accidentally fucked up my model there, I'm just going to take some tissue paper and make sure that, there you go, just taking the scrub paint off the colours there. Cool. And that is a very basic highlight. And a reasonably quick one of Blood Angels. For those of you who are looking at speed painting, remember it's a lot faster if you don't screw it up by painting your gun black. If you haven't got the cold or some sort of flu-ish virus, fortunately I've had my flu shot, so it's not going to get beyond a cold. And it's also quicker. If you're not trying to demonstrate the technique, because you can just do it quickly. Here I'm just trying slowing it down a little bit, not much, but a little bit to show you. And it's also quicker if you've got 4 or 5 models. It doesn't take much longer to do 4 or 5 models than it does to do one model. A little bit of this, because you basically go, you do all your highlights, put the next one down, pick the next one up, all your highlights, put that down, pick the next one up, do all your highlights. And again, and again, and again for the entire army. And the more you do it, the quicker you get. Even if you've practiced it, it'll take, after about the 3rd or 4th model, you'll start getting up to speed and start getting quicker. Hope you guys found that useful, and next week I should be coming back and working on the face. Oh, I've just seen a slight issue, which I'm going to fix with... Oh, that reminds me. I haven't done some of the highlights I wanted to do with the metal. Notice I haven't highlighted the Aquila. That's because I did the Aquila already when you guys were here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some bits there. And what I'm using here is metallic medium. It doesn't really have a colour, it kind of looks like white pearlescent. The advantage of that is when you put it on things, it tends to darken down or lighten up quite a bit. So I'm just going to take a bit and put some, so I used some when we did the video first off, but I'm just going to put some on the tip of the wings, on the point of the skull. And again on the tip there, because it gives it a little effect, just like gleaming metal, and I quite like it. But there you go. So once again, hope you guys enjoyed that. Hope you found it useful. Happy painting, and get your armies done. Get on the gaming table. Have fun. Enjoy yourself, and so on and so forth. Bye bye, guys. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, remember to like and subscribe to my channel. I'm also on Facebook and Twitter. Not sure why, but I am. So if you like it, see me there, and please tell your friends. Thanks very much. Bye.